Hey everyone, how y'all doing? Blue here, back with another Minecraft time lapse. So as you guys are probably aware, I like to try out a few different build themes now and again. I do so much medieval stuff on my channel that sometimes it's just nice to step away and step outside my comfort zone and just try something new. So when my Discord moderator Typal announced that this week's build competition was going to be an Italian theme, I thought this would be a great chance to really try something new because I've never done anything Italian and it's something that I've actually wanted to do for ages now. Now for those of you that don't know, I do have a Discord. There is a link in the description if you guys want to join. We do a bunch of building competitions, talk about Minecraft and a bunch of other stuff on there. So if you guys haven't joined already, please be sure to check it out. Now I'm going to quickly put a few of the builds up on screen from the people who entered. So we've got a build here by Fantastic. We've also got one by Bobby H. This one by Shadow. This one by Peony Girl 13. Drama Smith was this week's winner as well, and she done an amazing pizzeria restaurant. This one was by Typal, my moderator. And then this one by Super Flying Penguin. Now, some of these guys do have YouTube channels, so I'm going to leave the links in the description, guys. Be sure to go ahead and check them out and give them some love. Now, with that being said, let's dive back into this week's build. So for this build, guys, I found that building a kind of Italian or Tuscan style sort of village it's quite boxy. A lot of the builds are very boxy and they're quite small and not overly detailed. The details are more of the finer details rather than overly detailed in the walls. So they're quite kind of flat buildings, if you like. So for this one, I kind of came back and forth and changed a lot of things throughout this build. I started with some base colors, but I did go back and forth changing things because sometimes once you put in the second build, something didn't feel right with the other one. So I did do a lot of switching and changing. Now I found that the best thing to do for this one was to really keep quite simple shapes, don't overly do it. But the little thing that really worked well for this one was using the spruce wood to bring out the little details. So by making little sort of overhangs or little balconies, adding some shutters or some little fences around the edge of the roof, you know, that was what really brought out the details. Now I tried to include a few little hints of colours, so we used bricks in a couple of places, some of the green concrete and a few other colours to sort of bring the village out. Now there's still a bit more building to be done in the village, but I decided to go ahead and put in a bridge over here because on the opposite side over here I think this would work really well for a kind of vineyard area, you know, like a big open area that's going to have loads of vineyards and sort of farms and stuff like that. So I wanted to make it separate from the village, so that was why I chose to build right by the little river here so that we could put a little bridge going over and have the village and the vineyard all separate. Now for this one I did do a little bit of terraforming. I tried not to go too crazy and keep things sort of relatively just smoothed out rather than anything. And then once I was happy with that, I came back and started building over here to complete the sort of last house on the end of the village here. Now for this one I decided to use yellow because we hadn't used yellow, and I think this is a colour that does get used quite a lot in the Tuscan areas. I think a lot of their builds are very much sort of yellows, oranges and reds, and then they have a lot of white in there as well. Now once I was happy with the village, like I said, I did keep going back and forth making changes. So there was a lot of little changes I kept making along the way, and now and again I'd come away from it and then go back to it and just keep making little changes. It's one of those ones you just add in those last little final details of things that really sort of help bring it to life. Now on the other side over here I went ahead and started putting in a few little trees, and then I wanted to start on a vineyard. Now the vineyard did take a lot of work, I'm not going to lie guys. Setting up these bushes took me so long doing all of the vineyard area. I think I spent more time in the vineyard area than I did on the actual buildings or anything else. Now the vineyards again was something that took me a while to get something that I was happy with. I started out with this bit here which I loved. I love this first little section here that we got with all the vineyards around here, a few little trees around the back there, just to kind of the trees are there more to block out the sort of scenery behind, so that this area kind of felt complete, you know. When you hide off the background with trees and that, it really helps kind of just section off the village, you know, making it feel more complete. Now over on this side here, I started on some vineyards and I started laying out some leaves for the area where I was going to have the vineyard, and at first I thought it looked pretty good. I was quite happy with the layout. As you can see, it doesn't look too bad. You know, once we start stylizing it and putting everything in, it didn't look too bad, but something about this just wasn't what I was visioning, you know. It wasn't what I had in my mind. And I always tell people the same thing so many times, is that if you're building and there's something you don't like, don't be afraid to change it. You know, don't be afraid to go back and change it. And I do this a lot. A lot of changes will always happen in my builds because I'm never happy. I'm always going back, changing little bits here and there. So once I got to the end of the field here, and I was thinking to myself, you know what, this really isn't quite looking how I want. So I decided to jump in, just quickly change up a few colours of the trees at the front here first of all, because we had too many of the same coloured trees. So I tried switching up some of the leaves, and then I decided that I'd had enough of these vineyards on this side. It wasn't looking right, so I was like, right, just scrap the lot and start again. So I removed, as you can see, all of the vineyard bit on this side. Now, the reason I left this part in the video so you can see me removing everything was just to point out that everybody will build things that they're not happy with. We always do it. You know, just because somebody makes a video and don't include all the bits that they remove and changing that along the way, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen, you know. Everybody builds things they're not happy with, you know, but the most important thing to learn is to not be afraid to go back and change it again. Don't look at it and be like, oh, it's such a big job, I've done so much work, changing it is just too much work to do. You know, it is a big job, but it's worth it in the end. If you're going to be happy with the way it looks in the end, that's going to motivate you to build more, and it's going to intrigue you to want to do more. You know, if you're not happy, there's always going to be little sort of disappointments in your mind and stuff, and that's always going to just demotivate you to build. So never be afraid to go back and change things. Now, as you can see, guys, I rechanged the whole sort of layout of the fields here, and look already, just by looking at it, look how much nicer this looks. This is much more what was sort of in my mind. This is more of the vision I had for the fields, and the way that it's sectioned to the side really separates it from the village and from the river, and it really makes it feel much more like a vineyard than the way it was before. Before it just felt like a big bushy field, you know, it didn't feel like a vineyard. This feels much more like a vineyard, and I've got to say I'm so much happier with this layout. Now, as you can see, guys, there's a lot of bushes and stuff going on. I sped this video up a lot, so this was a lot of work that went into laying this. This wasn't done with weld edit or copy and paste. This was all laid individually. I am in creative, yep, but it was laid individually. Now, once I finished that, I decided that with this big bare spot that we had over here, I wanted to put in kind of like a little warehouse where maybe they took all of the berries from the vineyards, and maybe where they would sort of do some grape stomping, if you like, you know, and make some wine and stuff like that. But they need a kind of warehouse to store it all, or something like that. So for this one here, we went with this big kind of villa looking thing at the back here, but this is more, like I said, this is going to be more for like a warehouse, you know. Now, I made a few changes with this one, but I tried to keep it fairly simple because I feel like simple just works better with this kind of Tuscan theme. So I just added in a couple of little balconies and a little overhang at the side here. You can see we got the little berry stomping chambers on the side here as well. And then other than that, I just kept the rest of the details really more green than anything. It was more a case of, you know, adding in those bushes and little flower pots and vines to really add in the detail. Okay, and the last thing left to do, guys, was to add in some custom trees to the area. Now, as you can see, I have gone ahead for this last bit of the video and just turned on my texture pack so you guys can kind of get a little bit of an overview of how my pack looks. Now the reason I've done this is because I've got a lot of things in my pack that just kind of enhance the vanilla look of the game, and I just wanted to kind of give you guys an overview. I know there's a lot of you out there that often comment about my texture pack and tell me how much you like it. So I just wanted to kind of give you the two versions from sort of the vanilla game and my texture pack as well. Now, as you can see guys, for the custom trees here, I do go ahead and I've got a little bit of a system here. I try to sort of curl and wrap the sort of leaves around. Now, one thing that I find when building trees is to try and have a pattern that you follow for the tree. That way, if you want to repeat that design, it makes it a lot easier to replicate a very similar design. So when you're trying to build a tree, try and come up with a little bit of a system of something that is a repetitive pattern that you're doing around the tree. It will just make it a lot easier to kind of work with. Anyway guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up just there. So I'm going to leave you to enjoy the last cinematic of the village. Now just remember that if you want to download my texture pack, you can check it out. There's a link in the description. And also this build will be available to patrons and channel members very soon. I'll get that uploaded in the next few days. But for now, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up just there. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching and enjoy the rest of the time lapse.